welcome to today's video. Today I'm doing a review on Sonlight's kindergarten science program. We have been using this program, we started using this program at the end of my son's pre-K homeschool year, so we used it for about the last 3 months. Wanted to see if it was going to be a good fit for this upcoming homeschool year, and it has been a great fit. We are going to continue using it into his kindergarten year, and I'm really excited to share my full review on it because I feel like we've been using it enough. I can really give you my honest thoughts and opinions so you guys know how this program works. I do want to say thank you to Sonlight for continuing to partner with me and sponsoring today's video. I am also writing a complete blog post review too, so if you kind of want to see everything written down, the details, I'll have my blog post review linked down below. So we've used Sonlight before. This is not my first time using Sonlight. Sonlight is a literature-based curriculum. The company Sonlight is a Christian-based company, and so in their curriculum it is faith-based. So I just like to get that out of the way so you all know what kind of curriculum this is. I guess it's kind of hard to understand with my son because even though he's going into kindergarten this year and was technically in pre-K last year, we do a lot of things like at the halfway point. He has always been homeschooled, and so he really doesn't have to follow that traditional school, you know, from fall to spring grade level. And so he actually used Sonlight's preschool or pre-K program, their pre-K program part through his preschool and pre-K year. We were actually using their full pre-K program, and the whole program just unfortunately did not work for us, but one very specific part worked extremely well for my son, and that was the science. And so I was like, you know what? I know that science program works. They offer it separate than their full, you know, curriculum packages. Let's try just the kindergarten science, and I'm so happy we made that choice because it's been working out fabulously. So those of you that are new to Sonlight and what it all comes with, I'm going to show you, if you just buy the science, what all is included. They do offer the science for multiple age levels. So this one is their kindergarten science, and I think the overall like themes or concepts is ecosystems, meteorology, physics, and engineering design. So that is what this kindergarten program is structured on. There is both a 4-day and 5-day option. So when you're purchasing this, it's going to ask you how many days do you want scheduled, 4 or 5. If you choose the 5, I do believe you get like an extra book. There may be some extra lessons in there. I chose the 4-day a week. Now, let me just flat out say we do not do science 4 days a week. We would never be able to handle that, but we still get through the week every week without doing it 4 days a week, if that makes sense. And I'll explain that a little bit more when I get into actually how we use the curriculum. Sonlight plans everything out for you. And so when you're purchasing this, you get 36 weeks of your instructor guides. That is what's guiding you as the parent. Every single day it tells you what books to read, what pages, what activities to do, if there's a science activity, everything you need to know. So I live by that. Now, it's a big pack that you get. You can put it in the traditional big Sonlight binder. I make it a little bit more manageable, and I just use, I think this is like a 1-inch binder. I just kind of do like 10 weeks, 5, 6, 7, 8. No, actually I'm doing 16 weeks at a time. So I have 16 tabs, and I have each week separated by a tab. So every week you have your schedule. So this shows you, you know, day 1, day 2, day 3, day 4. It has what books or activity things you're going to be using that week, any supplies you need, if you need to purchase anything additional. And then it kind of goes through like talking points for you, questions to ask, and things like that. So it really plans everything out for you. It is one of the easiest open and go curriculums that I have ever used that is literature based and this like robust. Now, in that same instructor's guide packet, you're also going to have student activity worksheets. This is what they look like at the kindergarten level. There's sometimes they circle a picture, they have to check a box. There's cut and paste activities. There's normally like 1 or 2 of these that they complete per week. It also comes with those same activity pages, but with all the answers on them. So you have the answers right away. And yes, for kindergarten science, I have used the answer key because sometimes I'm just like, wait, what is that? So I really do like having that answer key. That is your go-to when you're using Sonlight's curriculum, your instructor's guide, the student activity pages, everything you need. And like I said, I just have it organized and separated per week. That's just easier for me to look at because we sometimes do multiple days of the schedule in one day. When it's laying out what books to read, for example, I think the first unit was on ants. This is a beginner book by Usborne. Your first day lesson would only be reading these 2 pages. And so depending on our school day and how my son is feeling, I can actually get through a couple of these pages. So we will actually complete, around 3 days of lessons in one day, and then that just works really well for us. So right now we're doing science about twice a week following the 4-day-a-week schedule, and we're able to complete the week every week. I don't feel like we're doing too much science. I don't feel like we're not doing enough science, and my son really enjoys it. And so it's never like an issue trying to go or have him do science. I feel like the books, the literature that they picked are very easy for me to read aloud to him and for him to understand. Now, this curriculum is meant for kindergarten. Some kindergartners may be reading, some may not. My son is not a reader at this point in time, and so I am having no issues getting through the activities with him. I obviously have to read everything to him and help him with some things, but I really like the activities. I think overall, it's helping him on his reading journey, and so you may have a different experience if you have a beginning reader through the kindergarten years, but it works just fine for non-readers also. Now, one of the best things about this curriculum, it is literature-based. I love teaching science through literature. I think it's one of the best tools that we have. And so you get a ton of literature in this unit. Here's a quick look at all the books. So this is a Forces Make Things Move book. Wangaria's Trees of Peace. Why Do Elephants Need the Sun? The Magic School Bus Inside a Hurricane. An Usborne Weather Beginner book. From Seed to Plant. Bees and Wasps. DK Find Out Science. Rainforest. Reptiles. And ants. Most of the time you're only working through one book. There may be times where it's multiple books. I know especially in the older Sonlight levels, your children are bouncing between different books. But in the kindergarten one, it has been very, very simple. So we've completed about 10 weeks of lessons, 2 units on ants and reptiles. My son has absolutely loved them. Now, I really like it because it gives you like the basic structure, and you can just use this curriculum and feel like you're completely doing enough. But there's always ways to enhance it too. So like I felt like, my son needed an ant farm for ants, and that worked perfectly adding that into this curriculum. So that is where I want to say too, as much as you don't need anything extra, this curriculum also really balances extra things well if you find your child wanting to do more or learn more about a specific topic. What else do you get when you purchase this? You get this big book of science experiments. There is a science experiment every single week. Now, before you freak out and you're like, I can't do a science experiment every single week, because trust me, neither can I. It is available. This book has all the science experiments in a big, colorful, like laid out way. Your instructor's guide does tell you what experiment to do. Like I said, there's one for every week. This was one when we were learning about reptiles and snakes, and it was learning about how snakes move. The first one we did was, I think your child lays on the ground and moves their body in a certain way, like a snake would move their body without like using their arms. And so that's technically a science experiment. Another one, we had to craft like a snake. We used kind of like this tubing type stuff, and we glued eyes and a tongue on it, and then your child just plays with it. Super, super simple. You also get to discover and do box that has most of the items needed. So when we made that snake, everything we needed was in this box. So I just grabbed it out and we made it, and it was super, super simple. So this box is full of different things that you will need throughout the entire year. There are times where the stuff you need is not in the box, and it's normally like we'll say water or like oil or crayons. Normally things you'll have around the house, but in your instructor's guide, it does tell you for the next upcoming week. So when you're finishing week 3, it will say, okay, for week 4, you may want to add these things to your shopping list. Not every experiment is that simple or that easy, or again, you just don't have that extra energy to do it. My favorite part about these science experiments, and really what sold me on it, because a homeschool mom with 3 kids doing 3 different science curriculums who works full time, I was like, I cannot commit to a science experiment every week. Well, you also will receive the add-on video options. So there are videos for every single week's science experiment. So you get like a online login. I normally stream them to the TV. So every single experiment, you have this like really funny teacher, scientist guy who explains the experiment in a really funny way and then does the experiment. So there was one experiment where you made like sand, clay type stuff, and you had to like mimic how ants would make tunnels. Well, I wasn't doing a very good job explaining it to my son. I mean, he really enjoyed playing with the sand, but when I just turned the video on and the guy explained like how ants build tunnels, and then again, we also had the ant farm, it was just like a full circle moment. So even if we do the experiments, we still watch the videos, or I play the videos so I understand, how am I supposed to do this experiment? How am I supposed to set this up? Written down instructions are great, but there are times where I need visually someone to show me like what we're supposed to be doing. So highly, highly, highly recommend those video science experiments because they serve multiple purposes. 1, they replace you actually having to do the experiment. 2, they benefit the experiment if you are choosing to do it as kind of a helpful guide, and they're informational. So they are kind of full circle closing what you learned in the lesson, completing that week, and doing the experiment. And again, the actor in the video is absolutely hilarious. Think of like a new age Bill Nye is kind of the vibe I get from him, and my son absolutely loves the science videos. There are times where I watch it and I'm like, there's no way a kindergartner is understanding this, but my son sits there and watches the whole thing and really, really likes it, and he loves the experiments. So that is everything you would get if you purchase the Sonlight Kindergarten Science Kit. Now let's talk about our lessons. So like I said, we chose the 4-a-day-week schedule, but we are not doing science every single day. So normally we do science about twice a week, and we complete at least a week of the lessons per week doing that schedule. Obviously you're always reading. You're reading one of the literature books, but it's very short reading increments. Then you will complete one of those student activity pages. You will, a lot of the times it's matching, cutting and pasting, and it is pulling information right from the book you just read. And so a lot of times I still have that book open, and we can go back through and read it when we're trying to complete those activity pages. And then once a week are those activities that you're going to complete. Either you can complete it, you have all the supplies in the kit, or if you don't want to complete it, you can just watch the video and have a great, easier experience completing science. This is scheduled for 36 weeks, and so this will go throughout an entire homeschool year. When you get your instructor's guide, the first few pages are really informative for you as a parent. If you are new to homeschooling, 100% read through this. It is going to explain the method behind sunlight, why your child is learning all these different topics. You know, we're going from ants to reptiles to hurricanes to motion. And so they're really just trying to expose your child to different concepts. They do touch on evolution and the age of the earth, because this is science. And so that is where you're going to see the most, I'm going to use the word opinions, and that's not the right word, but just because you're a religious family or not religious family or whatever you follow or believe, there's still variations of what you believe. And so they do have their standpoint on evolution and old earth versus new earth, and so you will want to read through that. There has not been anything I've noticed in the 10 weeks of these science lessons that I felt I needed to explain further or not state to my child. So again, with any curriculum, you're going to have to use your judgment on your faith and your thoughts and values in your family. But they do explain it and their viewpoint on it, which I think is very, very important. They do have hints for those activity pages. Like I mentioned, my son is not a reader, and so they do have kind of some tips on how to continue to keep the child involved in the activity pages, even if they cannot read. They have some other things, like make sure you color the pictures before you cut them out. This is like they're practical. Like they have a very solid, structured curriculum, but they know what real homeschooling is. So definitely, you know, go through those first few pages if you're new to homeschooling, if you're new to Sonlight. It's very, very beneficial. They have everything organized. So remember how I was like, I don't know if these books are in the order. Here's my list of books, and it tells me what week those books will start in. And then they have a quick start guide, because you're going to get all this stuff and you're going to be like, well, what am I supposed to do? Just go to the quick start guide. It's going to save so much time. Like I said, what works best for me is putting it in a small binder 10 weeks at a time, but I've also used Sonlight for a couple years now, so I understand how it all works. But definitely take the time to go through it, set it up, get it organized before your first day of school. Now, what I really like about this curriculum is it's straight and to the point. It's not too much, especially for a kindergartner. I feel like he is learning so many different things, and we're spending a lot of time. Like when I first was like, why are we spending 5 weeks on ants? How is there possibly that much to learn about ants? Well, I was wrong, and I learned so much about ants. And so trust the process. Your child is going to be exposed to so many new concepts. And when I say that my child has never really been asked a question, like when it's school, he just wants to be done with school. With this curriculum, especially like in that ant, I want to learn more. I want to know more. So I was constantly like finding additional videos and things like that. And so this is such a great base level. It gets the job done, but there's so much room to add on and to explore if that's, you know, what you guys want to do in your family. And if you don't want to do it, you can trust that you're getting a very solid foundation for science. Honestly, with this curriculum, this is what I would have used for my daughters if I would have homeschooled them from the beginning years. I don't know if we're always going to use Sonlight. However, especially in this kindergarten, these lower levels, I think their approach with the books and the variation of concepts is extremely important. And I can see that my son has picked up so many skills and has really gained a love of science. This curriculum works for me as a busy homeschooling mom, working homeschooling mom to multiple children and multiple grade levels. It really feels open and go to me. I have the support of those science videos. If I'm not feeling confident in a science experiment, or if I'm honestly not feeling like doing a science experiment, I feel like my child is still getting the experience of it. I didn't have to go out and buy a bunch of random science supplies. It all comes in a box. I have this beautiful colored science experiment book also that my son really likes to look at and follow through. I have everything planned out, so I know exactly every day what we're supposed to be doing. I can double up lessons, I can skip days, and I still feel like I'm on track. So I highly recommend this curriculum. It's not just because I, am working with Sonlight. This is something that I would use with or without their support. I think it's a very solid curriculum. I think it would work for anyone. I think you can adapt it to most learning styles. And so if anyone were to ask me what science curriculum you would choose for a kindergartner, hands down, Sonlight. Now, if you have multiple kids, if you maybe have like some younger kids, like a kindergartner, first grader, or second, I think those levels can really kind of stick together. I would really look at either the level K or the level 1, and you can totally do it with multiple age levels. Look through, you know, some of the examples in the weeks, look at the books that are included. This would work perfectly, this kindergarten level for kindergarten and first grade, so you can definitely mash it together. If you have older kids, definitely look at their older levels. But that would be a great group subject to do. Don't feel like this has to be for an individual child. I'm going to link everything down below. So like I said, I did write a full blog post review, which just has like a little bit more structured detail in it. You can read that. I have the links directly to Sonlight's website, so you can check everything out, see everything that you can get and purchase it. If you have any questions, feel free to leave those down below in the comments. And I hope you guys enjoyed this review of Sonlight's kindergarten science program. Have a great day, guys. Bye.